Hello YouTube, just wanted to make a video here about my history and background with pipes. I'm smoking my Boswell. One of my favorite pipes. And today we're smoking some Frogmorton on the Bayou. Big fan of Frogmorton. I've tried Frogmorton on the Bayou. I like both of them. These are the only two I've tried so far. So yes, let's get to it. A history of pipe smoking for me. Well, I probably started smoking pipe somewhere in my 20s, early, 19 or 20 maybe, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So we had a DeMoose tobacco shop, which is the oldest tobacco shop in the country, which sadly it's shutting down, which is unfortunate. But me and some buddies used to go and get tobacco there at DeMoose. We started, I was kind of a vanilla guy. I had to get my vanilla pipe tobacco, that's what I preferred. At some point after that, I graduated to a cigar and started to really passionately get into cigar smoking for quite a number of years. When I was touring with bands and freelancing out of Nashville, I used to take a selection of cigars with me, you know, when I would tour, and smoke when I got a chance, days off, etc. And if we had a day off in the town, I'd pull out the yellow pages and see if I could find a tobacco store. Before the days of internet phones and all that. So I'd be checking out stores all across the country when I got a chance. Built up quite a collection of cigars, and then moved back to Pennsylvania, moved down to Nashville, and eventually got married. My wife didn't like cigar smoke, or pipe smoke for that matter. So I said, well, that's okay. It's no big deal. I loved her more than I loved cigars. So I said, well, I'll take some time and not smoke cigars. So there was a season of the first couple years of marriage that I didn't really smoke a lot. I didn't have a problem with smoking, my wife didn't prefer it. She never told me I couldn't, but just didn't prefer it. So eventually a couple buddies, we'd go out for a smoke for a special occasion and this and that, and I kind of got back into it and said, it's good therapy. So I regularly smoked cigars. When I was on the road, I was probably up to three to four sticks a week, which isn't a lot, but more regular than I'd ever smoked. Then I moved down to maybe 1 or 2 sticks a month. And the importance of cigar smoking is, the commitment that it takes. You're going to commit an hour or two to be in one place and smoke a cigar. Unless, of course, you're driving or whatnot. But generally, when I would have a cigar, I would go to a cigar store, sit down and relax, and have a chance to clear my head. That's why I called it therapy, because it was a chance to think, and I think sometimes that could be a lost art, and that's a whole, I could go on for days, probably ramble on that topic, and the importance of thinking and learning to think, and then what you're thinking on. I think a lot of people set their sights too low, and a lot of people too are probably a little too impressed with their thinking and their ability to think, which is going to the other extreme. But anyhow, at some point in there, I always kept the pipe handy, and I had a boss that worked at a music store that smoked a pipe, and so every once in a while I'd smoke a pipe with him, and he was a avid Captain Black smoker, so I kind of traversed from my vanilla Cavendish and my aromatics to Captain Black. I should say bulk aromatics. So, fast forward a year or so ago, some buddies of mine were smoking pipe, and my schedule was changing, and I thought, the nice thing about a pipe is that you can light up a bowl and smoke a little and set it down, and then pick it up a little later. So as I became busier, I didn't have the time to go to a cigar shop and take 2 hours out of my day. So I started to pick up my pipe a little more, and mostly for commuting and whatnot, traveling from the studio to the stage, the theater where I do sound. And for me, it's kind of a chance to reset and relax. What I do is pretty intense as far as concentration wise. When I'm in the studio, I'm listening intently for anything that's not supposed to be there, trying to think of what parts would enhance a song, what combinations, should we be using a telly through this particular pedal into the Fender Super, or do we want more of a Marshall-y sound, or do we want to go for a Vox kind of a sound, or do we want to use a Strat, do we want to use humbuckers? So I'm constantly kind of just thinking intently, and then when I get into theater, it's basically the same thing, but a slightly different discipline, as you're really listening at a high level, trying to make sure everything's intelligible, and people can make out the words, and the balance between the singing and the music is balanced, and trying to get the most appropriate levels of sound so everybody can hear. So that's a lot of concentration. So I found that the pipe was a nice way to kind of make that transition, just clear my head, kind of reset, and I started to enjoy it more and more. Then and part of that was experiencing all these new tinned tobacco that I kind of never really got into. I never had a flake, never really had a tin of tobacco. It was always just like I'd go into the local pipe store and pick an ounce of whatever they had there that interested me. So it's been an exciting time of, learning all these different flavors and nuances. And I think I've said in the past in my videos, I don't have a really distinguished palate. You're not going to hear me talking about hints of fig and barley and this and that. It's just not my thing. But the contemplation that is allowed for with a pipe is something that I need more of in my life. I feel like it's so busy. Nowadays people are so busy. We don't have time to just sit and think. Years ago, there was nothing to do. There was no movie theaters. There was no internet. You had 5 TV channels, or before that, obviously there was no TV. People really had a chance to work out in their head what they believed, what they thought, what they felt. And again, I don't mean this in like a kind of like head in the clouds, like, what am I feeling today? It's not as much that as, what are your convictions? What are your beliefs? I'm a believer. I believe in God. I believe Jesus was the Son of God, and I believe the Bible is a standard of truth that we can all benefit by. And so that in itself, just contemplating how that fits in, and obviously the world is full of right responses to Christianity, to biblical truth, and it's full of a lot of wrong stuff. And how do I make out where I sit in all that? All those things need to be comprehended, and they need to be contemplated. They need to be thought about. And I find I don't do enough of that because I'm so busy. So it's hard to be creative if your well is empty. And I am in a position where oftentimes I'm expected to have a forced creativity. I'm expected to be creative on the spot. And if you're empty, the creativity is not that interesting. And honestly, I think that's why a lot of music and art is lacking nowadays, because there's a bunch of empty people that really don't have anything to say, and really don't even know how to focus in on those thoughts because they haven't spent time, thinking about them. It's a lost art in a sense. And I'm often find myself interested in lost arts. So that's a less than brief background on why I smoke pipe and why I enjoy it. It's a mellow, it just mellows me out, allows me to relax, think, and I enjoy it. So here's to many more pipes and smoking. Enjoy.